Imagine flying thousands of miles to this, like, all-inclusive luxury tropical resort in Fiji. You're sitting on a pristine white sand beach. The water is that perfect shade of turquoise. And for the next 2 straight days, you refuse to eat a single bite of food.
Which, I mean, sounds like an absolute nightmare.
It sounds like a bizarre form of torture, right? But what if that level of extreme deprivation is exactly what your body needs to cure the modern epidemic of burnout?
Oh, absolutely. That deep, hollowed out, low-grade hum where even deciding what to make for dinner feels like.
Like climbing a mountain.
Exactly. You lose your motivation, your sleep is a total mess, and that spark of joy is just gone. And that state is incredibly common today. It's a profound exhaustion where you find yourself, simultaneously running on empty, yet somehow entirely overstimulated.
Right. And we usually hear, oh, you're burnt out, go take a vacation. But for the kind of total system fryout we were talking about, a week of drinking pina coladas on a beach doesn't actually fix the underlying issue.
No, it really doesn't.
Which brings us to the source material for today's deep dive. We are looking at a first-hand account titled The Science of How 48 Hours in Fiji Can Reverse Burnout. And to be clear right up front, our mission today is not to plan a luxury vacation for you.
Definitely not.
We are dissecting a fascinating biological experiment. The author wanted to see if we can literally biohack our own stress by combining extreme fasting with natural environments.
So, okay, let's unpack this because going all the way to Fiji just to starve yourself for 2 days sounds wild.
It does sound entirely counterintuitive. I mean, to understand the author's logic, we have to kind of reframe how we view recovery. Traditional vacations, the ones where you pack your schedule with sightseeing,
And navigate stressful airports.
right, and consume heavy food and alcohol, they often just mask the symptoms of burnout. You are escaping your life for a week, but you aren't actively repairing the cellular damage that chronic stress has caused.
Right.
So the author framed this journey not as an escape, but as a deliberate, highly calculated factory reset for the brain and the body. I love that framing. A typical vacation is basically just putting your computer to sleep for a little while. The screen goes dark, it seems quiet, but all the heavy applications are still running in the background, secretly draining the battery.
Yeah.
What this 48-hour protocol is attempting to do is completely pull the power plug out of the wall, blow the dust out of the internal hard drive, and force a hard reboot.
That is the perfect analogy.
Mm-hmm.
And to grasp why a week off isn't enough, we need to look under the hood. Burnout feels like an emotional state, but it's actually a state of measurable biological chaos.
Right, it's physical.
It is. It's the result of chronic, unrelenting stress. When you operate in that state for months or years, your primary stress hormone, cortisol, is running high all day long, and that elevated cortisol disrupts your natural circadian rhythm.
Which totally ruins your sleep architecture.
Exactly. Your nervous system effectively gets locked in a sympathetic fight or flight response. You are perpetually braced for an attack that never comes. And over time, this constant chemical alarm bell leads to widespread systemic inflammation. Yeah, your biology is genuinely compromised at the cellular level.
Which brings us to the author's incredibly ambitious hypothesis to fix it. They call it the double reset theory. It involves an internal reset and an external reset working simultaneously. Let's look at the internal one first, a 48-hour fast. Just water, electrolytes, and black coffee.
Right, and the science driving this internal reset is robust because digestion is actually one of the most energy-intensive processes in the human body.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, by shutting it down, you are freeing up massive amounts of metabolic bandwidth. When you stop bringing in new fuel for a prolonged period, the body realizes it needs to conserve resources, which forces it into a state called autophagy.
Autophagy, wait, that translates literally to self-eating, right? It sounds like a horror movie.
It does. It sounds terrible, but it is actually a vital process of cellular spring cleaning.
So without new food to process, your cells start hunting around for like old, damaged proteins and cellular debris, and they recycle those parts. It's essentially taking out the metabolic trash.
Exactly. And that recycling process actively reduces oxidative stress and lowers that systemic inflammation we mentioned earlier. And on top of that, a fast of this length improves your insulin sensitivity.
Yo, nice.
And it triggers a significant release of human growth hormone, which is a really powerful repair agent for your tissues. The body goes from a state of constantly building and processing to a state of deep maintenance and repair.
Okay, so that covers the internal reset, but then they combined it with an external reset by surrounding themselves with blue spaces. In this case, the coastal environment of Fiji.
Right, and this is where environmental psychology meets biology. Coastal environments actively alter our neurology. First, the rhythmic, predictable sound of ocean waves has been shown to shift brainwave patterns.
Really? Just the sound.
Just the sound. It coaxes the brain from an alert, anxious state into a more meditative, relaxed frequency. This physical shift alone lowers cortisol production. And second, the air near crashing ocean waves is highly concentrated with negative ions.
Okay, pause there. We hear negative ions tossed around in wellness circles a lot, but what does that actually mean mechanically?
It's a great point. It can totally sound as a buzzword. Mechanically, a negative ion is simply an oxygen atom that has gained an extra negatively charged electron. They are created in nature by the kinetic energy of crashing water.
Like waterfalls or ocean surf.
Exactly. When you breathe in these invisible charged particles, there is evidence suggesting they reach our bloodstream and accelerate the delivery of oxygen to our cells and tissues. This process is believed to help boost the production of serotonin, the body's natural mood-stabilizing neurotransmitter.
Oh, wow.
What's fascinating here is the synergy of the hypothesis.
Yeah.
You are aggressively starving the stress and inflammation at the microscopic cellular level through the fast, while simultaneously soothing and calming the nervous system at the macro environmental level with the ocean.
Wait, if your body is already exhausted and running on fumes from burnout, doesn't starving out of food for 2 days just add a massive new layer of physical stress? I mean, how does deprivation equal healing?
It is a crucial question, and your instinct is absolutely correct. Fasting is a stressor, but it is what biologists call a hormetic stressor. Yeah, hormesis is a biological phenomenon where a mild to moderate temporary stressor actually stimulates repair and resilience. Think of lifting heavy weights. You are physically tearing muscle fibers, which is deeply stressful to the tissue, but the body repairs them stronger than they were before.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
By intentionally inducing this specific metabolic stress of fasting, you force the body to abandon its comfortable sugar-burning pathways. It engages deeply ingrained evolutionary survival mechanisms that prioritize cellular repair and efficiency over immediate energy consumption.
We are basically forcing the body into a controlled survival mode to trigger a deep clean. That makes perfect sense on paper, but reading about the physical reality of this ordeal is entirely different.
Yeah.
Because the human body does not give up its primary fuel source without a serious fight.
Definitely not.
The first 12 hours in Fiji actually sound quite lovely. The author describes the impossible turquoise water, the deep green volcanic hills, the locals cheerfully shouting "Bula" to welcome them. They spend that first day doing something called grounding, which means walking barefoot on the sand.
Yeah, and grounding, sometimes called earthing, is another fascinating environmental interaction. The Earth's surface has a limitless and continuously renewed supply of free or mobile electrons.
Okay.
There are studies suggesting that direct physical contact with the ground allows the body to absorb these electrons. The theory is that these electrons act as natural antioxidants, helping to neutralize free radicals in the body and, further reduce inflammation.
So for the first 12 hours, you're riding the adrenaline of a beautiful new environment, absorbing electrons on the beach. But then the biological reality check arrives. At the 24-hour mark, the author hits what they call the ordeal phase.
This is where the true challenge begins. Around 24 hours of fasting, the glycogen stores in your liver,
Which act as your body's backup sugar supply.
right? They are almost entirely depleted. Your body suddenly realizes no new fuel is coming in and the reserves are gone. This triggers a biological alarm. It results in severe hunger pangs, intense headaches, and a profound wave of physical fatigue.
Yeah, the body is freaking out.
Fiercely resisting the metabolic switch. It strongly prefers the easy, quick energy of glucose, and it is fighting the difficult transition to breaking down and burning stored body fat.
The author's description of this phase is just brutal. They are sitting on the beach dealing with a splitting headache. Their energy has totally crashed. And, oh man, they can smell grilled fish wafting over from the nearby resort restaurant.
Oh, that's rough.
It sounds agonizing. And they clearly want to quit. But to survive this wall, they lean heavily into a coping mechanism called thalassotherapy.
Thalassotherapy is the therapeutic use of seawater. And in this specific context, it served as a vital lifeline. Seawater is incredibly buoyant, which takes the mechanical, gravitational stress off the joints and muscles.
Allowing for physical weightlessness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But more importantly, seawater is rich in trace minerals, primarily magnesium, When you submerge yourself in the ocean, your skin can absorb some of this magnesium, and magnesium is a vital mineral that helps relax skeletal muscles and plays a huge role in regulating the central nervous system stress response.
It's like your body is a spoiled toddler throwing an absolute tantrum because you took away its favorite toy, sugar. It's kicking, screaming, and giving you a headache to force you to give the toy back. And the ocean acts as this giant, soothing, rocking chair.
I love that.
You just submerge yourself in that magnesium-rich water, the mechanical stress disappears, and the rocking chair starts to calm the toddler down enough to endure the tantrum.
That is a very accurate way to visualize it. The external environment provided the precise structural and biochemical support needed to endure the internal biological resistance. The sheer physical peace and mineral support of the blue space counteracted the internal alarm bells ringing from the lack of calories.
So the ocean acts as a lifeline to help them survive that agonizing 24-hour mark. But what is the actual biological payoff for suffering through that wall? What happens when they wake up on day 2?
The payoff is remarkable. By the morning of the second day, right around hour 36, the biological shift finally completes.
The author describes it like a switch flipping in their brain. The gnawing, painful hunger just completely vanishes. It's replaced by a sharp, effortless focus. They write about having this quiet, sustained energy, sitting on the sand, watching the sunrise, and realizing that for the first time in months, their mind is completely still.
And we can map exactly why that psychological shift occurs biochemically. By hour 36, the toddler has stopped throwing the tantrum. The liver has fully accepted that no new sugar is arriving, so it makes the hard switch into producing ketones from stored body fat.
Okay.
The state of ketosis is a remarkable evolutionary adaptation. Ketones are an incredibly efficient, highly stable source of energy for the human brain, unlike glucose, which causes constant energy spikes and crashes throughout the day.
Right, the sugar rush.
Exactly. Ketones provide a steady, clean-burning fuel. That shift in fuel source is what lifts the brain fog and brings that sudden, sharp focus.
And while the brain is finally running on this premium, stable ketone fuel, the rest of the body is in the middle of that deep clean we talked about.
Yes, the body is now in the deepest stages of autophagy. With the digestive system completely offline, cellular energy is fully redirected toward maintenance. It is actively dismantling the metabolic junk, the damaged mitochondria, the misfolded proteins.
All the cellular garbage that accumulated over months of elevated cortisol and chronic burnout.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because you have this massive internal cascade of cellular repair happening at the exact same moment. The external environment is working its peak magic.
It is the perfect storm of biology and environment. The author is sitting on the beach watching the sunrise, and morning sunlight entering the eyes is the most potent signal to the brain's suprachiasmatic nucleus.
Let's break that down for a second. What exactly is the suprachiasmatic nucleus?
Think of it as the master clock inside your brain. It is a tiny region in the hypothalamus that directly controls your circadian rhythms. When bright, natural sunlight hits your retinas in the morning, it sends a direct message to this master clock, telling it to halt the production of melatonin, the sleep hormone, and start the daytime cycle.
Oh, wow.
For someone suffering from burnout, whose master clock has been wrecked by chronic stress and poor sleep, this morning light is the ultimate reset button. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this specific moment at hour 36 completely validates the author's initial hypothesis.
The double reset theory actually works.
It does. The internal cleanse of the fast forcefully removed the biochemical roadblocks and shifted the body's fuel source. Meanwhile, the external calm of the blue space, the sunlight, and the negative ions provided the neurological safety signals required for the nervous system to finally, truly power down its fight-or-flight response.
We've reached the peak of this intense biological experiment. Let's bring this back down to earth and look at the aftermath. Because breaking a 48-hour fast sounds like a borderline religious experience.
I bet.
The author ends the ordeal with a simple bowl of papaya and coconut. And they describe the flavors as explosive, like tasting fruit for the very first time. But the most important takeaway wasn't the taste of the food, it was the psychological silence. That low-grade anxiety that had practically become their roommate was totally gone.
And clinical research strongly supports this rapid psychological shift. Studies focusing on short trips to tropical blue space destinations show significant, immediate drops in measurable psychological distress.
Really, just short trips.
Yeah, interestingly, these immediate dramatic benefits often outpace the slow unwinding that happens on a typical week-long vacation.
Well,
On a normal vacation, you spend the first 3 days just trying to stop obsessing over your email inbox.
so true.
This experiment strongly suggests that a short, intense, and biologically intentional protocol can be vastly superior to a longer period of mere escapism.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Because the author makes one thing very clear. You absolutely do not need to buy an expensive plane ticket to Fiji to cure your burnout.
You really don't.
Yeah.
The real magic here is not the coordinates on a map, it is the underlying principle of the intentional reset.
You can apply this exact same biology right where you live. You can try a 24-hour fast on a weekend to kickstart that cellular cleanup and give your overwhelmed digestive system a break.
Yeah.
You can find your own local blue space that could be a lake outside of town, a quiet river trail, or literally just sitting next to a running fountain in a city park.
It doesn't have to be complicated.
No, the absolute key is to be there without any distraction. No scrolling on your phone, no podcasts, well, maybe except this one. But seriously, just giving your nervous system a chance to exist without processing new input.
The core lesson we take away from this is a fundamental shift in how we view the concept of healing. In our modern culture, we are deeply conditioned to believe that when we feel bad, we need to add a solution. We add expensive supplements, we add therapy appointments, we add elaborate vacation plans, we add complicated self-care routines to our calendars.
We just keep adding. Right. But this experiment demonstrates that sometimes profound healing doesn't come from adding things. It comes from taking things away. It comes from stripping away digestion, stripping away screens, stripping away the noise, and giving our biology the empty space it desperately needs to repair and rebalance itself.
It's incredibly powerful. And I want to turn this directly over to you, the listener. What has burnout felt like for you? When you get to that hollowed out, deeply depleted place, what does it look like in your daily life? And more importantly, what is the one thing you've tried that genuinely helped you hit that reset button? I want you to think about that today.
This raises an important question, and it's a paradigm-shifting idea I want to leave you with. We typically view burnout as a total depletion of energy. And our natural, culturally ingrained instinct when we feel empty is to consume.
Yeah, like binging comfort food or TV. Exactly. We binge television shows, we buy expensive items or vacations to consume new experiences. But what if the ultimate cure for being totally drained isn't consuming more fuel? What if it's engaging in radical deprivation? What if your body isn't begging for a new software update, but is just begging for permission to be unplugged from the wall so it can stop processing for a minute?
Pulling the plug to do the hard reboot. I love that. A fascinating experiment and a completely different way to look at how we heal.